Imagine walking into a hotel, minding your own business, only to be met with a racist stranger mocking your hair. That's exactly what happened to Officer Karen, who couldn't hold back her disdain when she saw a black woman with beautiful natural hair. The audacity of this woman was shocking. She didn't just make rude comments, she went as far as to mock her, assuming she could get away with it because of her position. But what Karen didn't know was that the woman she was targeting wasn't just any guest at the hotel. In a twist of fate, this black woman wasn't just a victim of a racist rant. She was an FBI agent, and not just any agent, but the one leading the investigation into Karen's own department. What happens next will leave you speechless. Stay tuned because the tables are about to turn in the most unexpected way. Karen had always thought of herself as untouchable. As a senior officer in the local police department, she prided herself on her position and never thought twice about looking down on others, especially people of color. That day, she was feeling especially arrogant. When she spotted the black woman sitting in the hotel lobby, flipping through a magazine, she couldn't resist making a snide comment about her hair. Karen laughed to herself, expecting her friends nearby to join in the mockery. But what she didn't know was that the woman sitting across from her wasn't just another guest. She was Special Agent Tasha Williams, a seasoned FBI agent who had spent years working undercover to expose corruption within law enforcement. As Tasha quietly sipped her coffee, she observed Karen's every move, already piecing together who she was. She had heard whispers about corruption in the department, but she never imagined she'd stumble upon one of its key players so easily. What was this officer hiding? Tasha's instincts told her this was more than just a random encounter. Tasha's heart raced, but she kept her composure. She knew that revealing who she was would only escalate things in the wrong direction. Instead, she leaned back in her chair, her mind working through the connections she'd already made. Karen's unprovoked mockery wasn't just an isolated incident. It was a sign of something deeper. Tasha had seen it before. Officers who thought they were above the law, using their badges to get away with whatever they wanted, regardless of who they hurt along the way. Karen had made it clear that she saw Tasha as less than human, just another target to belittle. But Tasha wasn't just a victim. She was a trained investigator, and right now she was gathering information. Tasha noticed the small details, Karen's tense posture, the way she quickly glanced around as if looking for someone. Maybe she was more aware than Tasha initially thought. What was she hiding? Why did she seem so nervous now? The hotel lobby, once filled with chatter, felt eerily silent around them. Across the room, Karen's friends were busy gossiping, but Karen herself was becoming more agitated by the second. Every time Tasha shifted in her seat, Karen's eyes darted toward her. It was as if Karen could sense something, but couldn't figure out what. Tasha, though, had already started to piece it together. She had been investigating this department for months now, looking into a series of shady dealings involving police officers and local businesses. But this encounter felt like a sign that Karen might be more than just a bystander in the mess. Maybe she was at the heart of it all. Tasha's mind raced through every conversation she had heard about Karen. Her name had come up before in whispers, never directly, but enough to make Tasha suspicious. Was this just a chance meeting? Or was it something bigger, a setup designed to throw her off track? Tasha didn't believe in coincidences. Something about Karen's behavior now felt like a warning. And just as the tension in the room thickened, Karen's phone buzzed. She glanced down at it, her face going pale. Something was wrong. But what? Tasha was on edge, her eyes locked on Karen's every move. It was a game now, one Tasha couldn't afford to lose. Karen's hand trembled slightly as she picked up her phone, her eyes narrowing at the screen. Tasha could see the shift in her body language. The way Karen's earlier bravado disappeared, replaced by a flicker of uncertainty. The officer quickly typed a message, her fingers moving faster than usual, and then set the phone down with a deep breath, as if trying to steady herself. The silence between them was thick, each moment stretching longer than the last. Tasha leaned forward, watching Karen closely, every instinct screaming that something was about to happen. She couldn't shake the feeling that Karen knew who she was now, and if that was the case, this could go south in a heartbeat. She had to stay calm, but the tension in the air was almost suffocating. The lobby had gotten quieter, too, as if everyone in the room could sense that something was off. Karen glanced over at her friends again, a look of confusion and fear passing across her face before she quickly stood up. Tasha watched her every move, knowing this was the moment she had been waiting for. Whatever Karen was planning, it was happening now. She had to be ready. Karen walked briskly toward the elevator, her steps quicker than usual, but as she neared it, she stopped and looked back, her gaze locking with Tasha's. It was a stare full of challenge, of defiance, but there was also something else, something deeper. Tasha could see the flicker of realization in Karen's eyes. She knew now. She knew who Tasha was, and the realization seemed to shake her to the core. Just as Karen turned away, heading for the elevator, Tasha stood up, her heart pounding. She couldn't let her get away. But before she could take a step, her phone buzzed, an alert from her team. The investigation had just taken a sudden, unexpected turn. Was this the moment they had been waiting for? As she hesitated, a loud crash interrupted her thoughts. The sound came from the far side of the lobby, just beyond the elevators. Tasha's head snapped around, her instincts on high alert. Without thinking, she bolted toward the sound. Her shoes clicked on the polished floor as she reached the stairwell and found the door slightly ajar. Through the crack, she saw Karen, standing with her back to her, speaking to someone in a low, hurried voice. "She's already onto us. We can't risk it." "We need to end it now," Karen whispered, her tone cold, like she was giving an order. Tasha's breath caught. She recognized the voice on the other end, an undercover agent from her team. But the shock didn't hit until she heard Karen's next words. "If she finds out about the shipment, it's over. I'll make sure she doesn't leave this building." Tasha's blood ran cold. The stakes had just escalated. Karen wasn't just tied to the money laundering operation. She was actively involved in setting up a dangerous deal. And now she was planning to silence Tasha. Tasha didn't have time to think. She slammed the door open, rushing toward Karen. "I'm not going anywhere, Karen." The officer spun around, her eyes wide in surprise. "What are you doing here? How?" Before Karen could finish, the sound of sirens echoed in the distance, getting closer. Tasha's heart leaped in her chest. Her team had arrived. She wasn't alone anymore. But as Karen's expression shifted from anger to fear, she took a step back, her eyes darting to the stairwell. She was about to make a run for it. Tasha lunged forward, but in that moment, Karen dropped something small from her pocket. It was a flash drive, the very thing that could tie everything together, proof of the entire operation, including the illegal shipment. Tasha reached for it, but as she did, the door to the lobby burst open, and the officer from earlier stepped in, pulling out his gun. "Drop it, now." Tasha froze, the tension thickening. Her mind raced. This wasn't just about corruption anymore. It was about survival. She was facing a room full of officers who had